guys, it's Michelle, Deception Bites, and it is September 13th, and it's 8:08 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, we are caught up with all the Q posts, but there is a lot of Q-related news. I have been out and checked just a moment ago to see if Q had posted today, and he has not. So let's take advantage of this little break in posting and get caught up on some of the Q-related news that I personally think that you will find interesting. So let's get to it. Now, if you hear something in the background, my cat is eating, and she is the loudest eater. I don't know what is up with her this evening, but the food may actually be eating her. That's how loud it is. So if you hear something slurping in the background, that's exactly what it is. So let's start with this. Grabbed this off of Twitter. And it's Steve Bannon. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of President Trump's first term, you see multiple people from Barack Obama's administration, if not he himself, in federal prison. The level of corruption being uncovered right now will rock the nation. Now, I happen to believe that as well. I know that it's being spun every way it can be spun, and even the things that are coming out are the left are still trying to spin it, and when they can't spin it, they ignore it, and when they can't ignore it, they just shut it down and censor it. So that's what's happening. We all know that, but I do believe that in the end, there will be justice wrought. At least that is what I pray, and I know that those of you who are believers, that's what you're praying for as well. And those of you who may not be believers, you most certainly are hoping and wishing for that. So let's go on to the next thing. And this is from Iron Belly, Crypt Zero. I grabbed this from Twitter. At Reddit, you owe a lot of true American patriots an explanation for this act against the First Amendment. I believe censorship was one of the first moves of the Nazi Party to keep the people from their true motives by silencing anyone exposing their corruption. And that would be correct. And so when you go to Reddit now, you get this nice little hammer thing as if they are, a gavel is usually symbolic of justice, but in this case, it most certainly is not. It says this community has been banned. The subreddit has been banned for violation of our content policy, specifically citing harassment. I'm sorry, it's a little blurry there. And if it's blurry for me, it must really be blurry for you. I can't wait until somebody invents some blurry be gone. But until they do, we must prevail. All right, and this, of course, is from Sarah Carter, and I just wanted you to make you aware of a few things. We have looked at this article previously, but past and present U.S. officials say the template for the leak campaign can be traced back to the Obama administration's efforts to sell the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, which made the press reliant on background conversations and favorable leaks from government officials. Obama, this is irritating me and I don't know how to get rid of it. Obama advisor Ben Rhodes told the New York Times in 2016 that we created an echo chamber that helped retail the administration's narrative. Now, actually, I think I'm going to skip over this because I did read this in depth in the last video for the September 12th drop. So even though it is extremely interesting and I want to read it again, I'm not going to. I'm going to refrain because I don't want to weary you all. And I found this meme and I loved it. Loved it. Let me make it a little bit bigger here. And of course, the lady that sewed the flag, made the flag. It has a picture of her and it says done. She's got the stars arranged in a queue. Love it. So wanted to show you all that because I thought it was particularly well done. And then we've got this from Praying Medic, his Twitter account. QAnon, the world's first cult where no one has met the leader, and the leader insists people think for themselves. Now, I like that because does that make sense? If QAnon is really a cult, as some are saying that it is, please show me one cult in the world that urges its followers to think for themselves. I don't know of any. Usually cults will do your thinking for you and tell you what to think and even how to feel and react. But no, not QAnon. So certainly it's not a conspiracy, nor is it a cult. So let's go on. And Sidney Allen Johnson, replying to whoever this is, I'm not sure, but he says, the corrupt big tech companies have their own, quote, awakening approaching when they learn the meaning of the words, quote, assist forfeiture for their role in the treason against America. Q was always making us notice the resignations of these people. Q will own Reddit soon. And I do foresee that, even with YouTube. I get very frustrated with YouTube because they play games. For example, my subscribers stay around 4,200, and when they get 42,000, and when they get above that by much, they just get knocked out. And people will say, "Oh, I got dropped from your as a subscriber, and I didn't unsubscribe. So what's going on?" Well, don't ask me. I don't know. But it happens a lot. And they play games with monetizing, demonetizing, all sorts of things. And even with the amount of views, because you'll have, 7 comments, but 3 views. How is that possible? Or vice versa. It just doesn't make sense. So anyway, I do believe that there is a big awakening coming for them, and I do foresee a time in the future where there will be class action lawsuits, and I hope there will be, because they are messing with people. Some of these people, this is how they make their living, reporting on news, reporting on alternate news sources, and so forth. People like Alex Jones. Now, I'm not a fan of Alex Jones. I used to be a big fan of Alex Jones, but I see him for what he is now, and that is COINTELPRO. He is controlled opposition, but that is how he makes his living, and he does have a right to say what he is saying. He's not inciting anybody to violence. He's not doing anything harmful, I don't think. Just because I don't agree with him, he does have a right to say it. So I believe that, these companies, these big tech companies, I think that they will be held accountable at some point. And I do foresee class action lawsuits. I really do. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. And you know what? I'll be wrong again. But that's what I think. All right. Now, I loved this. Ben Garrison is absolutely brilliant. Very, very brilliant, very talented. And I wanted to show you this because his talent deserves being highlighted. All right, so you've got the deep state, the big swamp monster emerging from the swamp, and it says CIA on one shoulder and NSA on the other, and of course his hair is all these eyes, and the red glowing eyes as well. And in the back you've got Washington, which is cracked, and you've got Bilderberg, and not sure who that is swimming around in the swamp there, but it looks like they're perhaps carrying a needle. I'm not sure. And over on this side you've got the Rothschilds, and you've got pizza, and what's this? Let me see. Maybe make this a little bit bigger still. And hopefully it won't make it too blurry for you guys. And you've got a buzzard here. or what do they call them? Vultures. Vultures. Oh my gosh, when I lived in Louisiana, I would go down into the swamp in the early morning just because it's actually very beautiful in the swamp in the early morning. And all these vultures would be everywhere. It was absolutely amazing to see them. But, okay, and this says, I can't even see, oh, it's so blurry, I can't see what that says. But you've got Rothschilds here. Some of these faces, I'm not sure that they haven't been rendered and so, well, that's definitely Schumer. And I'm not sure who that is. But it's two heads of the same snake, it appears. And we've got the octopus here. We've got the pizza, all sorts. And then it says Trump's swamp draining service. Oh, we got the CFR. And what else do we have here? Let me see. The UN is on this side. Google. There's Obama. He's an alligator. And this is, of course, the man that we do not mention, whose name we do not mention. This, of course, no mistaking, is Hillary. And the FBI and the Bushes, well, they're just turtles now. And then we've got the mainstream media, and they're three rats trying to row ashore here. And you've got Trump on the on dry land here. And he's just looking at the deep state swamp monster right in the eye. Deep state's pointing to Trump. Trump has his chest pushed forward in an act of defiance. Love it. Anyway, he's a very, very talented cartoonist, and wanted to show you that. Now, this is a Trump this is not a Trump. It's not a Trump. It's a tweet. It's a Trump tweet. Okay. 3,000 people did not die in the 2 hurricanes that hit Puerto Rico. When I left the island after the storm had hit, they had anywhere from 6 to 18 deaths. As time went by, it did not go up by much. Then, a long time later, they started to report really large numbers, like 3,000. And personally, I think that this is just another way to disparage Trump and to, blame it on him. They're inflating these numbers to blame it on Trump, when really I should have grabbed that picture, gosh darn it. There was a picture of, my gosh, it was unbelievable, the amount of cases of water that were just sitting there and had been sitting there in the hot sun for a very, very long time. They were never used. They're still just sitting there. Massive cases of water. So, don't know, but I do believe Trump. When he says 3,000 people did not die in 2 hurricanes that hit Puerto Rico, I believe him. Now, do I believe that any people died? Yeah, I do believe that people died. And it may be more than 18, because after he left, there could have been additional deaths for whatever reason. But 3,000, no, I don't believe that. And I found it very hard to believe when I first heard it. But I had nothing to say that it wasn't true. Well, now Trump is telling us, hey, it's not true. And I would rather trust Trump than I would the mainstream media, because we know the record that they have. I don't think that they would know the truth if it tap danced across their nose and knocked on their eyeballs. I really don't think they would. So that's just me. I very much mistrust the mainstream media. And, when I started to mistrust the mainstream media, well, let me tell you, it's just in case you want to know. And if you don't know, I guess you're going to find out anyway, unless you fast forward a few minutes. When I was in Central America, this was back when the war was on with Nicaragua. And here I would hear on mainstream news, which was very hard to get as it was where I was. I was in Honduras, and they would say, "We have no planes." But meanwhile, you'd see the American planes going over your head every day. And I was like, okay, there's something really not right going on here. And I remember saying to people when I got back, it's not like they're saying in the news. And I would watch the news and I'd get so upset because I had just been there and I knew what was going on. I knew from the locals, I knew from the missionaries, I knew what was going on. I knew exactly what was going on. And yet how it was being portrayed in the mainstream media was complete opposite. So that's when I started realizing that, gee, you know what? News may not be news. News may be propaganda. And I have felt that way ever since. So I have had this feeling for a very, very, very long time because I had proof of it at a very young age. So let's continue. Like I said, there's a lot of Q-related news here. I'm going to do a few more, and then I'm going to break. And I may do a second video with Q-related news. I may not, but chances are I may, because there's a lot of it, and I think it's important. Okay, this is interesting. Censored network morning shows blackout bombshell report on Google helping Hillary. Well, gee, I wonder why they'd want to do that. While the networks have been obsessed with alleged Russian interference to aid Donald Trump in the 2016 campaign, they have, so far, completely ignored a bombshell report that a Google employee tried to help Hillary Clinton win. FNC's Tucker Carlson on his Monday show first broke the story that a Google email chain revealed Google's multicultural marketing department head, Ileana Murillo, admitted to using Google's political power to help turn out Hispanic voters for Hillary Clinton. None of the network morning shows, ABC Good Morning America, CBS This Morning, NBC Today, spent any time on this shocking development. However, on this morning's edition of Good Morning America, correspondent Tara Palmieri did find time to advance Google's spin that they didn't favor any party in their searches. Well, no, of course not. Those lily-white Google people. During an interview with Donald Trump Jr., Palmieri turned to Google to knock down the president's son's concern about the tech company's biases. Tara Palmieri, unfazed by the scrutiny, Donald Trump Jr. has become a prominent voice speaking to conservative fears about being allegedly silenced by big tech companies like Google. Donald Trump Jr., you have Google that controls 91 and change percent of the searches in the world. We don't know who controls the algorithm. We don't know who is doing what, but they're using it to influence the decision-making processes. And yes, absolutely they are. Palmieri, Google has said that they do not use an algorithm that favors one party or another. Oh, well, by all means, let's trust Google. Trump Jr., if they're only filtering content from one side and they're not doing it on the other, or they're sort of pretending to do it on the other, and it's happening time and time again, and there's only one side complaining about it happening. Palmieri, in a statement to ABC News, a Google spokesperson said search is not used to set a political agenda, and we don't bias our results toward any political ideology. We continually work to improve Google search, and we never search them to manipulate political sentiment. Well, of course not. Yeah. Well, there you go. And of course, we all believe Google. Not. All right. Well, let's go back, because there's lots of other things to get to. Interesting things. Fascinating things. All righty. Come on. The hamsters are running slow tonight. Okay. Stunning. Tucker Carlson reveals explosive email from Google exec on how company actively assisted Hillary in 2016. Tucker Carlson has an email from Google executive who admitted in her correspondence to top Google officials on how disappointed she was that Hillary Clinton lost after all of the work the company did for Hillary as a silent donation. The email came from senior employee Eliana Murillo, the former head of Google's multicultural marketing department. Eliana deployed the company's resources to increase voter turnout in ways she believed would help the Clinton campaign win in the last election. Eliana's tweets were recently set to private. Eliana sent the email on November 9th, 2016. That was one day after the presidential election. The email was forwarded by 2 Google vice presidents to more staff members throughout the company. Eliana touted Google's multifaceted efforts to boost Hispanic turnout. She knows Latinos voted in record numbers, especially in states like Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona. A key state for us, Eliana admitted. Google used its powers to ensure millions of people saw certain hashtags and social media impressions. The goal was to influence behavior during the election. And yet, I just have to say this, all of that, and yet she still lost. It was a rigged election, it was rigged by Google, and yet she still lost. Think about that. And yet there she is, tweeting up a storm as if she still matters, as if people are still listening to her and hanging on her every word. Not. She doesn't get it. She does not get it. Hillary Clinton is that narcissistic. Doesn't get it. Okay, we already showed you at the polls. You know, you had Google working for you, and goodness knows who else. You had all this stuff against Trump with the fake dossier, which you paid for, and you know, and the elections were rigged, and yet you lost, and yet she can't take a hint. I think she still thinks she has a chance to win the election in 2020. Are you kidding me, Hillary? Really? You are mentally ill. Get help. I mean, it's out there. People know about the deaths, about the money laundering, about everything. Uranium One. It's out there, Hillary. We know you're not relevant anymore. I get annoyed. I do follow her Twitter account because I like to see what she's tweeting, but lately it's just tweet after tweet after tweet, and they're seconds apart, minutes apart. And I don't think she's doing it. I don't think she's smart enough to do it. I think she has it managed, but she doesn't get it. Anyway, let me continue. Google also supported partners like Vote Latino to offer rides to polling stations. Now, I don't have a problem with people offering votes or offering rides to polling stations. I really don't. And but offering it to Latinos, I think that, if those Latinos are here legally and are registered to vote and can vote legally because they are here, they went through the right channels to be here, then by all means, nothing wrong with making sure they get to the votes or to the polls to vote. But I have this feeling that they're wanting the Latinos to vote because a lot are illegal and they vote Democrat. So yeah, that makes sense to me. But I wouldn't have a problem if, there were people in my area that needed rides to the polls. I would offer in a heartbeat. But if they were legally able to vote. Anyway, Google supported partners like Voto Latino to pay for rides to the polls in key states. Google described this as a silent donation to the far left group. So here is the proof that Google is using its power to shape American elections, speech, and culture. And we're worried about the Russians interfering? Hello? Not only did they not interfere, but isn't this interference? Well, first of all, this is Google is interfering in our elections. How can that be legal? And wouldn't you say that allowing illegals to vote, especially when the bulk of those illegals are from Mexico, isn't that foreign interference in our elections? Isn't that what you'd call it? That's what I call it. It's foreign interference. Like, what if a bunch of Canadians, seriously, I mean, this isn't going to happen, but what if a bunch of Canadians, and Canadians don't like Trump. I don't consider myself Canadian. I was born here. That is my motherland, but I lived most of my adult life in the States, and I love the United States of America, and I want to be a citizen. I am a legal resident, even though I am temporarily in Canada. I want to be a U.S. citizen, but let's just say that a bunch of Canadians cross the border and they tell them, you know what, we're going shopping for the day. And they show up at polls and they vote. Wouldn't that be foreign interference? Well, isn't that sort of what the Latinos are doing? Okay, they may live here, but they're not here legally. I mean, there's a ton of Canadians that live 6 months in the States and 6 months in Canada because it's legal. If you have a passport and you don't have any reason to not be able to cross the border because of, a criminal record or anything like that, they do tend to not want criminals to cross the border, and I appreciate that, and that's fine, but there are a ton of Canadians that live 6 months in the States, especially retired Canadians. They live in the warmer states, Arizona, they live in Florida, Georgia. Most of the warmer states have what they call snowbirds, because when the snow comes, they fly south and they stay there for 6 months because they're legally able to do so. Do you want them voting in your elections? I don't. I don't want other Canadians voting in U.S. elections because they're not. It's not their right. It's not their country. It's not they may be there 6 months out of the year and they're legally, but they're not what you call legal residents. They're there on, it's a tourist. Basically, you're allowed to stay 6 months in the States and then you have to leave. I don't know. I think it applies to Canadians. I'm not sure if it applies to Mexico as well. I don't know. But I know that we have that agreement with the states. But do you want them voting in your elections? I don't. And that's why I never voted when I was there, because I was a legal resident and nobody would have ever questioned if I went to the polls and voted because I know that for a fact. I know illegal aliens that voted. I know them. And anyway, I never did because I was told, it was right in the paperwork, that until I'm a citizen, I do not have the right to vote. So I didn't, even though I could have. So anyway, I'm just saying that is as much foreign interference as anything else. So I agree that there should be, you should have to provide documentation or whatever, identification to vote in the States. It's ridiculous. Every other country you have to. So why not the States? Well, I'll tell you why not. It's because the Democrats want the votes. And it's the foreign that are voting Democrat. It's a fact. Anyway, and now we have Google that is also influencing elections, or attempting to. Of course, it didn't work this time because Hillary was, so disliked, much more disliked than she ever thought. And, she couldn't win a rigged election, which is really, really bad. I wanted to do a video actually, and I may still, because I have all these little snippets of Hillary explaining why she lost the election, and it changes, like every single one, it changes. It's a different reason, and it's so ridiculous. I started laughing because I thought, oh my gosh, like how many things can she come up with? Anyway, I'm going to go on now because I'm talking your hind leg off. All right, now, that's the wrong page. Let's go back to here. All right, we're going to look at this and then maybe the next couple things, and then we're going to end this video. I may come back later and do another because there's a lot of stuff to go through. Too much stuff for one video. Well, look at this. And we've already looked at this in the post from yesterday. Well, I did the video today, but the posts were actually from September 12th. This says, breaking, Reddit shuts down second largest pro-Trump subreddit. And why does it have a picture of Barack Obama there? Reddit has banned the second largest pro-President Trump subreddit, The Great Awakening, as tech platforms increasingly ban Trump-supporting and conservative forums. Top Reddit moderators made big league politics aware of the fact that The Great Awakening was banned Tuesday night at 11:45 p.m. The subreddit has been down all day. Now, that's interesting because Tuesday night, let me see, Tuesday night, this is the what is today? Today is Thursday. Tuesday night, which meant, yeah, they would have got their drop. It was banned Tuesday night at 11:45, so Wednesday at 4 a.m. would have been the drop, and Wednesday was when all of the news media was carrying the same story. They all carried the same story. So they shut it down at 11:45 p.m. and then at the 4 a.m. drop the next day, which would have been Wednesday, the 12th, you got all of the news picking up the exact same wording, same everything. So we know that was part of the infamous 4 a.m. drop. So, the Great Awakening subreddit served as an informal platform for followers of the QAnon movement as well as for other independent researchers. So, we're not going to go through more of that, but what's this? Soros employee. Meet the Reddit executive who is shutting down Donald Trump supporters. Oh, well, let's look at this. I haven't seen this before. And what's this? More than 30 covert left-wing actors have been identified coordinating with the plotters, including activists linked to Media Matters and the ACLU. All right. Now, I noticed on Reddit what was happening right before this ban happened. You would have somebody replying with something really good. They would be discussing one of Q's drops and adding information, and all of a sudden, everyone from everywhere would come and downvote it, which I believe were bots, because I just do. I think there were some paid shills, but I think that there were bots doing that as well. And so they would downvote it, so not as many people would see it. Very interesting. Anyway, Soros employee. Meet the Reddit executive who is shutting down Trump supporters. Jessica Ashu. Sounds like a sneeze. Jessica. Deputy Director of the Middle East Strategy Task Force, the Atlantic Council. Current Director of Policy at Reddit, Jessica is coming under heavy criticism as Reddit bans pro-President Donald Trump voices. Started working for Reddit after an executive stint at the George Soros-funded Atlantic Council. Well. Reddit is run by Steve Huffman, a.k.a. Spez, following the suicide of free speech-minded Reddit co-founder Aaron Swartz, who faced 35 years in prison in a hotly contested computer fraud case. Jessica is believed by some to be responsible for the account, Arab Scarab, which has been leading the charge to shut down the QAnon movement on the Reddit platform. The Great Awakening, the second largest pro-Trump subreddit, was banned Tuesday night in a move that has rocked the online community. More than 30 covert left-wing actors have been identified in the censorship plot, which includes posing as Trump supporters to post intentionally offensive content and flagging it. Some of these activists are linked to Media Matters and the ACLU. An employee of CBS has been identified as a member of the plot, but denies involvement. Well, of course. Overseeing policy at Reddit is a veteran of George Soros' Atlantic Council, where she served as deputy director in the Middle East Strategy Task Force as recently as spring of 2017, when she moved to Reddit. The January 2017 David Brock meeting in Florida, where he laid out a social media censorship plan, kicked off a period of Silicon Valley aggression against the American people at just the time was transferring from the Atlantic Council to Reddit. The Atlantic Council now works with Facebook to police independent news content on Mark Zuckerberg's social media platform. Well, let's just go on. In the hour since Q's banning, a number of top Trump supporters have been banned from Reddit, and the tech company is preventing any new pro-Trump subreddits from being created. Reddit is also wiping away the posting and clearing the posting histories of numerous Trump-supporting and Trump-supporting forums. Left-wingers have a formal name for their effort to ban President Donald Trump supporting subreddits, Ban Out 2018. The liberals have announced that they are now in phase 3 of the banning project. Here is one choice quote from the Reddit thread. Your comment was removed because it isn't the phrase, I fully support Ban Out 2018. Feel free to make a new comment showing your support of this great cause. Ban Out 2018 is an even bigger project than some leftists want to admit. Every mod on that sub is a power mod who controls many defaults, a source told Big League Politics, referring to Ban Out 2018. Here is the page for Ban Out. Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. Yeah. Well. Don't even know where to go with that. So let's look at one more, and then we are going to break, and I may come back in a bit with more. Now, let's take a look at this. Poor Trump gets blamed for everything. Yep. Come on, hurry up, hamsters. All right, Newsweek. Fox News host Sean Hannity says Donald Trump will fire Robert Mueller after Hurricane Florence. Okay, now this isn't what I thought it was. It's not what I thought it was at all. But let's see what he has to say, because it's interesting too. What I thought it was, I don't know if you're aware of this, but President Trump is now being blamed for Hurricane Florence. Yes, that's right. He's being blamed for Hurricane Florence because, after all, everything is Trump's fault. Yes, everything. But let's see what this has to say.
Detroit, Mike, hi, how are you?
Hello, Sean. It's good to speak with you. I'm a long-time listener. I love your Fox show. I'm going to try to be real quick because I got a couple of quick questions, all right? Trump has got so many people in his corner ready to fight. Anything he can turn over or declassify, I can't understand why he wouldn't do it. What's he waiting for? One of his kids to get indicted or something? And if they do get a special counsel to look into the investigators, can it be stopped by the Democrats if they take the House and or Senate? And something else I thought about, if they're, for the investigation, the special counsel to begin with, there was supposed to be a crime designated. If there's no crime designated, then can't Trump put an end to it?
Yeah, I think...
30 days. Name the crime or I'm putting an end to it. Put them on their heels.
Listen, I think all of that's going to happen. I think it's going to happen sooner than later. I don't think it's going to happen on a week where 9/11 happened. It's to me, there's other things that we are more important to talk about. And I don't think with a big, massive hurricane about to hit the east coast of the United States that looks like the real deal, that anybody's going to be focused on that. We've got to worry about our neighbors right now. we got to roll up our sleeves and be prepared to help out the people of South Carolina, North Carolina, and elsewhere. That's where our focus is. But afterwards, I would expect that he will do that.
Okay, yeah, that wasn't exactly what I thought it was, but at any rate, I'll see if I can find that for the next video. That President Trump, yes, indeed, he is being blamed for the hurricane. So that was pretty nasty of Trump to unleash this horrible hurricane. Yeah. Anyway, and then you'll have Maxine, impeach 45, impeach 45. He started Hurricane Florence. Anyway, that's it for now. And for the Trump-related news, I think I'm going to be back later. Yeah, I think I am. There's lots more to go over and lots more interesting things to get to. And I think that you guys are interested in it. So if not, let me know. Just say, you know what? Stop with the Q-related news. We don't want to hear it. Or just say, you know what? I don't know. You could even be a little more rude than that if you wish. I'll listen. I really will, because there's no sense in me bringing things if it's not what people want to be informed about. If there's something else that you would rather be informed about, let me know. I'm cool with either. I'm interested certainly in the Q-related news myself, and I'm interested in the Q drops, but there's lots of other things going on that I am also as interested in. So with having said that, I'm going to sign off for now. Thank you for listening. Make sure that if you want to be subscribed, that you are subscribed, that you stay subscribed, because they do drop my subscribers. And pass the videos along. If you enjoy them, pass them along, because they certainly, they're making every effort to make anything by anyone voicing a conservative viewpoint less seen. So anyway, we will call it a day there, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay well and stay safe. If you are in the path of the hurricane, please heed the warnings, and our thoughts and prayers are with you. Please stay safe.